Howdy, the Arizona Historical Society welcomes you to the 2024 National History Day Arizona kickoff. The mission here at AHS is to connect people through the power of Arizona's history. We were actually established by an act of the first territorial legislature back in 1864, and we are the oldest historical agency here in Arizona. Our museums and historic spaces are all over the state. We have museums in Tucson, Flagstaff, Yuma, and Tempe. We also support the Strawberry Schoolhouse and the Douglas Williams House down in Douglas, Arizona. We provide professional development opportunities. We support student research. We host regional and state contests for National History Day. And today, you are going to learn about National History Day, how this project-based style of learning, which meets many of Arizona's state standards, will allow students to select a topic, research, and develop a project to show what they know. We'll also share some sample projects. We'll talk about the contest, how it pertains to in Arizona, who can compete, and we're going to reveal this year's 50th anniversary theme that has been given to us by the National History Day National Office. At this time, I'm going to ask Jenny to go ahead and pull up our PowerPoint, and we can jump right in and get started with our introductions. My name is Kristen Rex, and I joined Arizona's Historical Society about a year ago. I have 33 years of education here in Arizona, and I have just completed my rookie year for hosting NHD regional and state competitions. I'm located in Tucson at the Arizona History Museum. I bring to the table teaching experience from 5th to 8th grade in English language arts. I was a principal of a middle school. I directed an alternative education for a county agency. I've been a superintendent of a small rural school district, and I'm currently working with my dream team who bring varied backgrounds and good experiences to share. And I'm going to turn it over to Allison next.
Hi, I'm Allison Avery. I am the Curator of Education at our Tempe Museum, the Arizona Heritage Center. My background is I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology and American Indian Studies. I then moved into teaching 2nd grade through 5th grade, mainly social studies with 1 year doing science. And I was a teacher for 3 years, and then I received a master's in curriculum and instruction, and then I've been with AHS for 3.5 years as a curator of ed, and I have been able to help coordinate National History Day for the last 2.5 years. So it's been really exciting, but we are still a growing team as far as NHD goes.
My name's Jenny, and I'm located down at the Sanguinetti House Museum and Gardens here in Yuma, and I'm the manager / educator here. My background is mostly teaching higher education social studies, so 8th through 12, and then also college level. But I also have my master's in public history and museums. This is my first year working for AHS, and this is actually my first year ever dealing with, or this past year was, with NHD, and it was such a fun experience, and I absolutely loved it. And it gets me excited because I'm working really hard to try to get a regional down here in Yuma as well. So we have a great team, and we're going to give you a little background about NHD from a national level and at the state level.
So what is National History Day? So many people are familiar with the concept of a science fair. Many people have participated in them in childhood, or maybe have heard from them. It operates kind of in a similar fashion, except the focus on National History Day is obviously a history focus. National History Day is a year-long academic program. Its focus is on historical research and analysis and argumentation. And students are able to express themselves creatively. This is for 6th grade through 12th grade students to participate in. And by participating in National History Day, students are able to express themselves through writing, through filmmaking, web design, through performance, and through exhibit design. They're able to create unique contemporary expressions of history. This experience is a wonderful way for students to participate at a local level, state level, and then eventually the national level. National History Day's national competition is located in Washington, D.C. And so the students are able to get that experience at our nation's capital, as well as being on a college campus. That is held every year in June. And with that, National History Day students are able to become historians and build their critical thinking skills, their analytical abilities, and their confidence and professionalism through this program.
So as the affiliate, we are National History Day in Arizona, or as we often call it, NHDAZ. We're the main contacts for all regionals and state held here in Arizona. For the 2024 season, we're planning on 5 different regionals. We have our 2 that we host every year in Phoenix. This is East Valley and West Valley. Then there is North, which is hosted at NAU in Flagstaff. Our Southern Regional is hosted in Tucson at the Arizona History Museum. And like I said earlier, we're hoping to bring a regional down here in Yuma to add to our list. After the students compete in the regionals, they are selected to go to state, which is hosted by ASU in Tempe in April. Students who advance from state, as Allison had said, are invited to go to nationals, which is hosted in Washington, D.C. The main goal of ours as the affiliate coordinators is to recruit and provide workshops and trainings during the school year to help students and teachers grow through project-based learning and historical research. You will hear a lot of kids talk about how this particular style of learning really gets them involved in the history in a hands-on way.
Jenny really hit on that value of participating in NHD and having the project-based learning. As we know, this teaching method allows students to learn by actively engaging in the real world and personally selecting meaningful projects. National History Day gives a very open-ended theme that a student that might have a passion for science can use in their project-based learning, because many significant scientific events occurred or mathematical events occurred in history that can align to the theme. So there's something for everyone is what I guess I'm trying to say. Here are just a few of the Arizona State standards though in English, language arts, and social studies. Also, remember in 2021, House Bill 2211 was signed into law that requires students in either 7th or 8th grade and at least one time in their high school, they need to receive instruction on the Holocaust and other genocides. What a great way to infuse some of the learning that they have to do in some project-based learning and allow them to have that freedom to really dig deep into specific topics. As a student, they're empowered. They learn how to research. They have to develop historical arguments. They have to align the NHD theme and show what they know through a selected means. They have a lot of empowerment in. It's a great way to encourage higher level thinking. It ensures that state standards are being covered and taught, and it truly puts that power of learning where it belongs, right with your students.
One of the best things about this program is that there's options. Every kid learns differently, and the different categories and divisions, and whether you want to do an individual or a group project, it's very accommodating to all our different types of learners. So these are the 5 categories that they offer. Like I said, they can choose to do them individually, or they can do them in groups up to 5 students. So one of the categories is the documentary. They're allowed to create like a 10-minute movie using videos, pictures, and voiceovers to talk about their topic and how it relates to the theme and why it's important. They can also do that using a website. NHD hosts their own website making program that students will use not only to learn how to build a website, which is an incredible skill, especially in today's day and age, but also how to divide and communicate information in that way. Students can also choose to do an exhibit, which is a physical exhibit that they do have to bring to the competition. There are size requirements and things like that, but students have free range to use whatever colors, images, documents, objects, even videos if they'd like, to communicate their research and arguments. The paper is the only one that's required to be an independent project. For our kids who maybe prefer to work alone, this might be the best category. So papers depend almost entirely on words to tell the story. You can include more information in the paper than you can in some of the other categories because of size and time restrictions. So if you have someone that has a lot of passion, maybe a paper is the best for them. And then our last category is performance. So students are given 10 minutes to provide a live presentation using costumes, props, and a script they develop on their own to explain their research and their arguments in a dramatic and kind of more visual way. So here are some examples of some students who actually competed in the 2023 season. I had asked them if they wanted to participate in what was known as a showcase. So I developed these posters for them to kind of highlight some of their different projects and what NHD means to them. Based off this QR code, you will then get to go to the student's website page. We have our own Google Sites that I use to kind of update everybody with some basic contests and regional information all the way up to nationals. But as you can see, every student who wanted to participate has their own page. So Abby comes from Flagstaff, and she had actually done an individual exhibit about Braille. She says, NHD helped me learn how to make a professional presentation. The students and teachers I met helped me by encouraging me to do my best. Other competitors' projects have helped me understand more Arizona history. One example is my friend's National Park project. I've enjoyed getting to meet people that have the same interest in educational competitions, researching Braille, which was the topic, and putting a poster board together. Part of every project, you're required to have three things essentially. You need to have your actual project, but you also have to have a process paper and an annotated bibliography. The process papers are probably my favorite part because it essentially is just, why did you do this topic? How did you do this topic? And why is this topic important to you? And getting that information and understanding a student's way of thinking through this paper, I think was extremely powerful to understand what history means to kids. Then, of course, your basic annotated bibliography. A lot of times this is kids' first introduction to an annotated bibliography. And so it's a really cool way to introduce it to them and build that new skill. Another student we had was Amira. She also did an exhibit, but she did it in a group, and she came from Phoenix. She said, NHD has had a huge impact on me. It has shown me many things, from giving me a bigger perspective to teaching me vital skills. I learned a lot about my project, the frontier of Apollo 11, and just how much people and effort it takes to do something that incredible, which I never thought about before. Another thing NHD has taught me was how to make a presentation and all of the parts it needs to succeed. All in all, NHD has been an amazing experience. And then again, we highlighted her process paper and the annotated bibliography. One of my favorite ones is the websites. So one of the cool parts about NHDAZ is that we extend the age gap just a little bit. So we do allow 4th and 5th graders to compete. They just aren't able to go to nationals just yet. So Nathan is one of our youth kiddos who did an individual website on Olade Equiano. And he says, in my opinion, NHD represents the natural human need for curiosity in our lives. NHD really helped me better understand how history has a never-ending ripple effect on the future. NHD has given me the ability to analyze historical documents and events and effectively decipher their meanings. And like I said, he did a website, so we're going to go to his website really quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. The cool thing about these is if students want to keep them, they can. There is a fee that's associated with it. But essentially each year you can do the exact same category. That's what a lot of kids do. They kind of specialize in the one that interests them the most. So this is the homepage. And as you can see, there's different forms of media. There's pictures that are properly cited with text and even audio. With a website, you're still required to do the annotated bibliography and the processed paper, but this kind of opens it up more for our techie kids who want to use different forms of media to kind of communicate their ideas in a little bit different way. Another great one is our documentaries. Molly was one of our nationals participants, and I think this was her second year of going to nationals. And she's from Glendale, and she had done a great documentary on Shirley Chisholm. She says, to me, National History Day means being able to directly engage with our history. Indeed, in our history classes, we have the opportunity to learn, but we are not able to engage with history in the same way that our NHD topic allows us to. NHD has given me the skills of analysis, examination, and curation on a grand scale. Additionally, after creating my first documentary, I realized how passionate I am about videography and cinematic creation, allowing me to pick up on a new hobby. And I can show you just a little tidbit of Molly's documentary.
I stand before you today as a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the presidency of the United States of America.
This is Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman to be elected to Congress, a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and the first African-American woman presidential candidate. She dared to cross the political frontier of discrimination and sexism, expanding the horizons for all women and African-Americans today.
I don't want to give it away too much, so we're just going to stop there.
Here are a couple examples of exhibits. All of these students that you'll see in the next couple slides placed at their regional contest. They then attended state at ASU, and they were then selected as a top 2 finalists in their age division and by their projects that they chose to participate in. Participating at nationals brings thousands of students from across the nation in the U.S. territories and some of our international schools. On the left, you see a young man named Andrew with his project called Sesame Street: New Frontiers in Intellectual and Social Education. His exhibit was selected to be showcased at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History on June 14th, with 47 other projects from around the nation. And on the right, you see Dorothy and her exhibit from the Madhouse. Here are 2 examples of performance projects. Students select a topic, research it, develop a script, and in 10 minutes, they must set up, perform, share their knowledge, and then tear down and be ready for the next performance. This is live action, and if you've done anything in the artistic realm, things don't always go the way that you originally planned them to. These kids know their stuff. They have the ability to stop, communicate, back up, and regroup, and it's just amazing to watch some of these performances. On the left side, you see Mia with her performance of Florence Nightingale, New Frontiers in Nursing. And on the right was the Salem Witch Trials, A Time of Lies and Hysteria, which was performed by Roman, Eleanor, Sutton, Meredith, and Riley. Students can choose to do group or individual projects. And now over to Allison, who's going to roll out the 2024 theme.
So this coming year, 2024, will be National History Day's 50th anniversary. And with that momentous anniversary, the theme for 2024 is Turning Points in History. So this is a theme video that was created by National History Day, kind of going over what you could do.
In 2024, for the 50th anniversary of National History Day, students will consider the theme of turning points in history for their National History Day projects. But first, they must ask themselves, what is a turning point? A turning point is an idea, event, or action that caused change, either directly or indirectly. Sometimes historical significance can be clear in the moment. Other times, we understand the importance of that moment much later in history. A turning point can be an action by only one person or a movement of millions. A turning point can have an impact that can be felt worldwide or in one community. Turning points can happen 4,000 years ago or 50 years ago. A turning point can lead to social, political, economic, and cultural change. While turning points can be positive or negative, they are often both. In short, the possibilities for an NHD project are practically limitless. There is a topic for every student. Whatever the turning point, students must demonstrate its significance in history. As you consider a topic, ask yourself the following questions. What factors led up to the turning point? How and why? How did it create change? What happened before and after? What were the immediate and long-term consequences? What impact did the turning point have on the people who experienced it? How did they, in turn, affect it? Why was this turning point significant in history? Now let's consider a few examples. Events as turning points. When we hear this term, we often think of wars, social movements, revolutions, and natural disasters. Major events like World War I, the Chinese Revolution. Is it possible to fully understand all the perspectives, historical context, historical significance of such broad topics in 10 minutes, 2,500 words, a single website, or one exhibit board? Probably not. But what about one event within a larger movement? A student interested in World War I might explore a specific military campaign, a technological innovation, or the role humanitarian organizations played in combating the hunger crisis after the war ended. They might explore how the war ensured the already weakened Ottoman Empire's demise, or how European powers influenced the boundaries of the modern Middle East. Sometimes seemingly simple events can have major consequences for people and their nations. Students interested in more recent history might explore why the people of Bosnia declared independence from Yugoslavia in 1992. What were the consequences of the voters' decision? What led up to the vote? In what way can a vote on a single issue serve as a turning point and lead to immediate and long-term change? Consider the long-term consequences of patterns in history, such as colonialism. How did the storming of the Sikh Golden Temple in 1984 influence Anglo-Indian relations? How did it build on the century of British colonialism that India had previously endured? Similarly, how did the annexations of Hawaii and Alaska help the United States become a global power? How did their subsequent statehoods impact the land rights of indigenous communities? Researching local history provides opportunities to learn about and share the histories of individuals and groups whose stories have not yet been told, and to engage in deeper analysis. Students interested in legal and social history might consider New York's Tenement House Act of 1867, the first housing reform law in the United States. This law set minimum requirements for room size and ventilation. It also required the tenants have access to bathroom facilities and fire escapes. While it was a state law, it influenced other cities developing similar codes. How was the establishment of an aviation repair depot in Speedway, Indiana, during World War I an economic and social turning point within Speedway and the surrounding community? How was aviation a turning point in the progress of the war? How did production methods introduced during the war change manufacturing practices when the war ended? Consider how a large-scale event could be a turning point at the local level. How was the Somali Civil War in the 1990s and the resulting wave of immigration a turning point in a city as seemingly remote from Somalia as Minneapolis, Minnesota? Natural disasters have turned the tide of history time and again. A typhoon in 1281 destroyed a Mongol fleet as it prepared to invade Japan, while winds blew the Spanish Armada off course in 1588. In 1692, an earthquake caused the Jamaican city of Port Royal to slide into the sea. In the 1930s Dust Bowl, severe drought and winds swept the North American prairies. What were the results of these natural disasters? Why were they historically significant? What were the short and long-term consequences? Can incredibly horrific events nevertheless have positive consequences? The Black Death killed nearly half of Europe's population from 1347 to 1351. How did widespread labor shortages affect Europe's feudal system? How have other epidemics led to advancements in medicine, science, social structures, or sanitation practices? Actions as turning points. Turning points can also cross thematic boundaries. Frida Kahlo's paintings sparked international interest in Mexican art, and in turn, in Mexico and its culture. What impact did it have on women? How were Chinese-American LGBTQ activist James Toy's efforts to forward LGBTQ rights in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a turning point in both the city's attitudes and policies, and in how marginalized groups collaborate to spark reforms? Sometimes a turning point's impacts are evident in unexpected places. At the 1976 Olympics, when Nadia Comaneci scored the first perfect 10 in women's gymnastics, she brought widespread publicity to the sport and set a new standard for scoring. What were the cultural and political effects, both within and outside of Romania? The 1954 Brown versus Board of Education case was a landmark event within the civil rights movement. But could it be considered a turning point for other marginalized groups? Why or why not? What impact did it have on later legislation? Protests and other forms of collective action have been responsible for numerous changes, great and small, throughout history. In what way did the 1968 protest against the Illinois Bell Company influence Chicago's Mexican and Puerto Rican communities? How and why? How were the indigenous occupations of Alcatraz in the 1960s a turning point in Native American activism? How did the Elaine Massacre, part of the Red Summer, in September 1919, spur civil rights activism in the 1920s? What about speeches? How was Frederick Douglass's speech at the 1876 Republican National Convention a turning point? What about Charles de Gaulle's appeal of 18 June? Did Martin Luther King's 1967 Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break the Silence, have an impact beyond the civil rights movement? Sometimes turning points reverse themselves. The 1776 New Jersey Constitution granted women and African Americans the right to vote. However, in 1807, it revoked that right. Despite this turnabout, how did this initial inclusion set a precedent for suffrage movements a century later? Ideas as turning points. Ideas can also be turning points in history, but no idea emerges out of thin air. How does one idea build on others? How do societies and individuals shift existing ideas to fit current needs? Why do some ideas become turning points while others fade? To what extent does society shape ideas, And to what extent do ideas shape society? What societal factors allowed new ideas to take hold? In the 1950s, Kwame Nkrumah built on existing ideas to create a vision for African independence that spread throughout the continent. In 1957, Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African nation to break free from colonial rule. How was Nkrumah's Pan-Africanism an extension of ideas pioneered by W.E.B. Du Bois and others in the early 20th century? What was revolutionary about Nkrumah's ideas? How did these ideas impact other African independence movements? How were innovations such as the plow, reaper, or fertilizer turning points in farming? While they allow us to feed Earth's rising population, how did they impact indigenous communities and their traditional practices? For those interested in ancient history, consider the work of Greco-Egyptian geographer Ptolemy. His work, Geographia, earned him the title of Father of Geography. Ancient Libyan author Publius Terentius Afer challenged imperial Roman policy by using his characters to comedically critique the Roman Empire's treatment of foreigners. How do we use these ancient thinkers' ideas and practices today? Scientific theories and innovations have pushed society forward, prevented great loss, and caused nearly equal devastation. Chemist Ruth Rogan Benarito is credited with saving the cotton industry after World War II. Admiral Grace Hopper developed computer languages written in English rather than mathematical notation. How did these turning points change the way we dress, learn, and think? Turning points exist in every era and place in history. Their effects are seen in every facet of our world: physical, social, economic, and political. Consider multiple perspectives. Remember that even the most seemingly positive turning points can have less obvious negative repercussions. Bring to light stories yet untold. We can't wait to see what turning points your research reveals in 2024.
So how can you help? Get involved. We need you. As a volunteer, we have so many roles, from judging to setup at each contest. If you think you want to be a judge, we take the time to train you. We give you all that you need. We pair you with experienced people. We are looking for judges, not just retired teachers or history people. We're looking for college students. We're looking for people in the business world, civil servants through government. We're looking for all sorts of skill sets and will sets to come together using a rubric, help give feedback to these students that have invested time and effort and passion in their projects. Not all the students are going to win. We get that. But these kids want feedback. We want to give them feedback to help them be better for the next competition or the next time they try something and take a little risk and step outside of the box. So you can help through volunteering. We're also looking for groups and other museums to collaborate with. We have kids that will call and say, hey, do you have anything on? Well, we're the Arizona Historical Society. We got a lot on Arizona, but if we can help make connections with kids to have other research sources, primary sources, being able to interview someone who was there at the event that they select. We want to connect students with resources to help strengthen their projects. We also, at our state contest, we have an awards assembly, and in that awards assembly, we support those 4th and 5th grade students that cannot go forward into the nationals. But we do a Jim Rex memorial for them, and we give them a cash prize to honor their hard work. We have groups, historical societies, or we even have speech and debate groups that will set forth money to give to students. So if you know of a group that might want to get involved by sponsoring an award, we'd love to talk to you. We have other states and other universities that often do that as well. We're looking for support, and it comes in all different shapes and sizes. So all you have to do is reach out, and here's how you can do that. Thank you again. For more information, we have this information that you can reach out to us. We have an email designated just to National History Day. Last year, we had 243 students participate. We want to double that. Last year, we had 17 schools hold contests and participate in regional contests. We want to triple that. We want every county in the state of Arizona to have some type of representation and win one of our contests. All you need to do is reach out to NHDAZ at azhs.gov, and we want to put you to work, and we want to support you. So on behalf of the Arizona's Historical Society, thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you real soon.